Hello and welcome back to ACRO's Good Clinical Podcast. I'm your host, Sophia McLeod. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Lovie Negrin, CEO and founder of Randomize Now Research Centers, Dr. Ammara Mushtaq, Medical Director and Principal Investigator at Brooklyn Clinical Research, and Sandra Carmona Torres, VP of Engagement and Strategic Initiatives at K2 Medical Research. Randomize Now, Brooklyn, and K2 are 3 of the 7 sites participating in ACRO's Site Resource Grants Program, which funds innovative pilot projects aimed at improving representation in clinical trials. Dr. Lovie, Sandra, and Dr. Ammara give us an overview of their sites and the project they're pursuing, talk us through some of their lessons learned so far, and give us their thoughts on the state of clinical research from the site perspective. Enjoy! So I'm really excited to have the 3 of you joining me today. I think this is going to be a great episode. I love talking about the grant program, so I'm really excited that you guys are here to let our listeners know about the really great work that you're each doing. So Dr. Lovie, maybe I'll start with you. Can you just tell our listeners a bit about your site and the project that you guys are running as part of the grant program?
Yes, definitely. So I am the CEO and founder of Randomize Now Medical Research Centers. So we are a clinical research site in the Atlanta and surrounding areas. We have 5 integrated clinics and 1 standalone clinic and growing. I think we actually just got a new contract signed this morning. So definitely a growing company. Part of the grant funding has allowed us to actually train research naive physicians through a 6-module program that we created in-house. We wanted to, do a unique program because we know that there are some very specific needs and gaps in knowledge that we've noticed amongst the providers that we work directly with. And we were not really able to fulfill that need with some of the already established programs because they were very kind of more general teachings versus the specific trainings that we needed for the types of studies and the way that our company is logistically set up when it comes to contracting physicians in. So it's been a really nice program to be able to assist with that. Additionally, we wanted to meet a need of our community that this is really kind of a proof of concept. And the grant funding has allowed for this kind of pilot program to help us build a database, help us build our database in communities that we don't typically really get to reach when we're working directly through research. So for example, there is a county here in Atlanta, Clayton County in the Atlanta area, and it has one of the highest poverty-stricken areas in the metro space. And so we partnered with one of the federally funded assistance program. We were able to enroll 100 people into a free health assessment program. And what this does, it allows us just to send that. It's an insightful program, not really a diagnostic program, but it allows these participants to get a little bit of insight into what's going on with themselves metabolically from just a baseline level. We've been able to notify people with very low kidney function, abnormal liver function, and then connect them with some of the providers in the community to assist for continuity of care. And so, of course, there are some gaps that we've been able to identify through this program, which will give us a kind of a foundation to go out and apply for additional grant funding. But we're super excited about that collaboration with Clayton County Community Services.
That's amazing. Sandra, do you want to tell us a little bit about K2 and the work that you guys are doing?
Of course. So K2 Medical Research, our main clinic is located here in Orlando, Florida. We have right now about 10 sites, not only in Central Florida, but that's including Tampa, the Villages, and recently Nashville and Rhode Island, and growing as well. So we're hoping that we can extend our services to other areas nationwide. But we are focused on bringing clinical research opportunities to underserved communities. So our project has a unique aspect of our work, which is our mobile clinic unit. So Wanda, that's what we call her, allow us to go directly into neighborhoods and bring research to people, making participation more convenient and accessible. Through the grant program, our goal is to increase patient participation and build trust with the communities that we serve. We utilize Wanda not only to engage participants, but also to bring education and to bring opportunities for people to participate in and feel a lot more comfortable with the research process.
We love Wanda at ACRO. It's such a good name. Dr. Mushtaq, fill us in on what's going on at Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Mushtaq. For introductions, I'm medical director and PI at Brooklyn Clinical Research. Our site is located in Flatbush neighborhood of Brooklyn in New York City, which, as you can imagine, is a heavily populated, densely populated area. And when it was founded, so David Almeida, our founder, shout out to him, because I think it's hard to start a site in New York City, with just generally operationally things I feel like can be a little harder in New York City. But we have grown and we are about to be 3 full-time investigators. So I'm full-time, which really helps with recruitment and retention and quality of data and meticulous tracking of those endpoints. So it has been exciting. Within 15 minutes of our site, within a 15-minute drive, there are 960,000 people living, and about 43% of them, so that's about 400,000 people, are African American. And in trials that we have enrolled participants in, it's been great for diversity, and we've had large representation from underrepresented communities in trials. For the project that we're doing for this grant is doing community events. Traditionally, at our site, our model for recruiting participants is through social media ads, so Facebook, Insta, and we've done very well with it, and we've met and exceeded our enrollment targets for trials that we've undertaken, so it's been good. So we're hoping to expand that further through community events and compare our diversity metrics for participants recruited through community events versus through social media. So that's our project. But I'm also very excited to hear and learn about Dr. Lovie's and Sandra, your site about in-house training for physician naive. That's a great idea in mobile clinic units. That's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm
Thank you,
glad
Dr.
that we could
Mushtaq.
get you guys together. I think it's a fun
Yeah.
opportunity from each of you to sort of hear about what the others are doing. But I would love to hear from you guys. And Sandra, maybe I'll start with you for this question. Have there been any unexpected developments or things that you and the K2 team didn't really anticipate happening so far during your time with work? Any fun surprises? Any, things you needed to work through?
I think the biggest development and the biggest surprise for us is seeing how our presence continues to grow and make an impact in the community. And in that sense, like the overwhelming response of the community, it's good and it's bad at the same time because we want to serve everyone and we want to be there for everyone and for every invitation that we get to bring Wanda into one of these communities. So we didn't anticipate that the volume was going to be as big as we thought. So, which is again a good thing in a way, but we weren't expecting such a big response from the communities. And we often get invitations that at times we have to turn down because of the capacity and the resources that we have available at the time. But we for sure think this is a great thing that is happening, that we're making such a big impact in what we're doing, that we're getting invitations and we're hoping that we can, bring Wanda to every single event and extend our services in different areas of Central Florida. So I think it's a good and a bad thing, right? But I still think that this is something that we're super excited about and overwhelmed a little bit at times. So
Dr. Mushtaq, what about you guys?
Yeah, so for our first community event we did a couple of weeks ago, we partnered through a local company that runs similar events for other organizations, academic centers, so a health fair. So what we were offering as part of health screening is checking A1C level to check the status of diabetes or prediabetes and see if they have it, or if they have it, how well controlled it is, and possibly giving a brief physician intervention of just counseling, lifestyle modification. And we noticed in the community event that many participants didn't necessarily want to sign a consent form because for us as a dedicated research site, so of course compliance and regulatory is upheld high at our site that we make sure whatever we're doing is fully compliant. So we are doing that for a research study, and we have our own pre-screening studies. So any procedure that needs to be done should be under a research study. So we have our own pre-screening study, and our offering was doing A1C testing, but that requires signing a consent form, reviewing and signing a consent form. And many participants didn't appreciate that. Because it's in that type of setting, and typically the health fairs they're used to going to doesn't require that. So then we came up with a solution. There is an IRB waiver for consent for certain low-risk procedures, which a finger stick A1C testing would fall under. And that's also something I love about research, all the regulatory, just knowing what's allowed and what's not allowed, and it helps you troubleshoot different things. So knowing that, yeah, you can obtain IRB waiver for similar testing, which is one of the criteria for that is a setting like that, where it's a community event and you may not necessarily be able to consent. So we submitted a waiver of consent for our future screening events. Then hopefully once that's approved, we'll be able to offer that testing to patients with just an information sheet or a verbal consent. So at least it's not a long consent process.
Yeah, there's always something.
Yeah.
Dr. Lovie, what about you?
So as far as some challenges that we have faced, kind of piggyback off of what I said originally, it's the continuity of care. Like, we are diagnosing a lot. I mean, I'm a provider, so I'm diagnosing a lot of patients that are in, stage 3 and stage 4 kidney failure. A lot of these patients don't have insurance. And so that is a piece that is just so daunting, and just, it hurts my heart. I do this with my heart. I really do. To the point where now I am out asking people for money for these patients so that we can continuously screen the people that are underserved in this area. So just a gap, just, no underinsured, no insurance, not understanding the importance of me taking your blood pressure, and your blood pressure is 188 over 120. I can't take on all these patients as my patients because I can't provide continuity of care. And it's just a really weird space that we're in right now, where people just don't have basic health care, And so just this program has just really brought that problem to the forefront. And now I am talking with some individuals about what can we do. I don't need any money. I just need you all to get resources to these people. I don't care if it's a clinic that's set up outside of this place. But it's just really sad. I mean, the children that come in there that need clothes and shoes, and it's so sad, that it's every Thursday. We do this every Thursday at Clayton County Community Services. But anyways, that is the problem that I see, is that America has a problem, and the problem has become a lot more vivid and clear through the grant program.
Yeah, I think, like you were saying, a lot of challenges have been highlighted by just kind of being able to be out in the community more often, which is great. And like you were saying, Sandra, sort of like a two-pronged thing. It's great that you can do more work, and it's great that people are showing up, but then it's like, can you actually, provide that level of care to everyone? And that's a whole other host of challenges, like you guys are saying. But I'd love to hear, maybe Dr. Lovie, I'll come back to you for this one. Taking everything that you guys have worked on and have learned these first 6 months, how do you want to kind of take those learnings and build on that for the second half of the program? And sort of, where would you like to be when we get to December and the end of the grant program?
Yeah, good question. I would like to really, over the next 6 months, make a list, and I'm making a mental list of organizations that are truly dedicated to what they say they're dedicated to. When I was, out searching for a partner in this, people's intentions become very loud. Let me think, it's, for lack of a better word of saying it, become very loud. And so when you're bringing something as far as a free screening program to, a religious organization or a community service event, or a foundation that says they're, there for the healthcare of underserved people, and you present an opportunity and you see that they run away because maybe the number isn't correct, or, it's, whatever it may be. I think that's one thing that I'm definitely taking, is like the organizations that really wanted to partner to bring, and not just this initiative, but other things that we have brought even through our foundation, to be able to provide healthcare opportunities for patients. So that's one thing I'm taking with me. Additionally, as far as, how much it costs to provide services, I mean, that is a totally different conversation, right? We have to, it's free, it's no cost to the patients, but it's definitely a cost to the company. And so like paying for labs and things like that is really expensive. So budgeting a lot better. So when we are extending additional funding from other sources, we know how to budget that, and maybe even negotiating with the company so that we can possibly get a better rate for some of the services that we're providing. But that's something that, I would take from a logistical standpoint. But then lastly, just that we've been able now to see what else the patients or participants or the community really needs. And so we know how to come back and get assistance for that, because sometimes it may not always be medical. It may be, food services or things like that we too could assist for. Maybe not coming directly through Randomize Now, but now partnering with other organizations that can bring that particular resource into the events that we have. So
to expand on Dr. Lovie's point, yeah, it's important to know what a community needs, and it's, it varies from community to community. And first, yeah, the baseline level of problem and what problem that is needs to be addressed. Then, like she said, determine what resources are needed. This is true for like epidemiological or prevalence studies we do, how many patients with diabetes are uncontrolled, for example, and then knowing that number then helps us direct interventions more effectively.
I think we want to continue to build on the momentum that we have from the responses from the community. So we hope that in the next few months, we also be able to see more participation, more enrollment into clinical trials. And, we've laid the groundwork already, that we are engaged, people are listening, they're paying attention to what we're telling them, we're bringing the education, and then we hope that translates now into some participation and some more interest within our community in being a part of research.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I know that you are all very busy. I can see you are all in the clinic today. So I want to make sure I let you guys get back to your real jobs, but I thought we would end off on sort of I'm hoping like a motivational foot here. Dr. Mushtaq, maybe I'll start with you for this one. If you could each give me, honestly, whatever you want it to be, whether it's, a message you'd like to leave our listeners with, maybe something you want them to know about your site that you haven't told us so far, maybe advice for other sites who are sort of struggling through the community engagement process or whatever it might be, or just like a call to action to the site community. So Dr. Mushtaq, I'll kick it off to you first.
Yep, thanks. So, well, I'm incredibly proud of the work we have done at our site, and it's been great to see it grow and for us to do so well. And during that time, I've realized and appreciated that diversity in clinical trials is it needs multifaceted approach. It's not one solution for one community. It's a multi-pronged approach that we need, and different things may work differently for different communities. And we also appreciated during some of our last trials that one of the reasons that historically underrepresented communities are not enrolled in trials, like I witnessed that firsthand, that sometimes their medical conditions are uncontrolled. They're just more likely to have exclusionary findings or to have uncontrolled, unstable medical conditions because of lack of access to care. So even though we're located in a very diverse neighborhood and our participants are actually really interested in different trials through conversations that I'm having with them every day in pain or diabetes related research or cardiovascular outcomes, vaccines. They're interested in all these studies, but sometimes it's just been harder for them to qualify for the study because they're just more likely to have uncontrolled medical conditions. And it's hard to see that a participant is interested and they want to participate in the study, they're here, but they may not qualify. So one of the things that our site is undertaking is another pre-screening study through which we can optimize some of the conditions that participants may have, for example, uncontrolled diabetes or untreated hypertension, and optimizing those medical conditions that are then more likely for them to qualify, making them more likely to qualify for an industry-sponsored trial. That's one of our new initiatives, and we'll see if that helps. We also have seen, for example, our current cardiovascular outcomes trials. At 1 year, we've had 99% retention, and we have met our enrollment goal in a year instead of 2 years that was planned for this study. Our diversity metrics for that study are 54% African Americans. It's outstanding, and that's been great. Compared to our diversity metrics, for example, for a vaccine study, so there is opportunity for improving vaccine hesitancy and education in our communities by being in those communities, like you had mentioned. So for a vaccine trial, we finished enrollment for last year. About 30% of our participants were African American, compared to 54% for our cardiovascular outcomes trial. So there is a stark difference. So one of the things I want to do, in addition to seeing how diversity metrics perform for social media ads versus community events, I also want to see how they vary based on therapeutic area and indication, for example, cardiovascular versus vaccine study, and present that data hopefully at a conference. And yeah, one of our other future works, like I mentioned, is optimizing participants. Dr. Dolmia, who's our anesthesiologist, he's interested in different pain studies, and he's the principal investigator on our pre-screening study that will hopefully help us optimize participants for other industry-sponsored trials.
That's so great. Sandra, what about you?
Yeah, I think I want listeners to know that research belongs everywhere. So not just on large institutions, but also in local clinics, in community spaces, in partnership with community leaders and community members, right? So we want to make it accessible and inclusive. And for that, we have to understand that community engagement and trust takes time. It's not necessarily an immediate result that you're going to see. It shouldn't be, right? Because we're coming into people's homes in a sense, right? And so we have to build that trust. We have to be a good member of our community for us to be accepted and to become part of the community, in order for them to even listen to what we're saying, and not just bring participation opportunities, but also education opportunities. So that way, when the time comes on making a decision on whether or not they want to participate in research, it comes from a place of education and information, that they're fully understanding what the benefits and the risks are of participating, and then making a decision out of that. I think that's our mission, and I want people to know that it is possible. People want to participate. People in different communities from different diverse backgrounds, they want to participate. Often they don't have the information or the education, and that should be everyone's mission.
Absolutely. Completely agree. Dr. Lovie, you want to close it out for us?
Yes. I think a call to action really is about collaboration, collaborating with organizations and people that have missions that you otherwise may have not thought to partner with when it comes to the clinical research space. I have been able to partner with some of the governmental bodies here, because they have all the seniors, right? The seniors are the ones in Atlanta that show up for votes, and they go out and they vote. So they cater to the 55 and older community. And so guess what? I help sponsor those events. I go and I talk to them, and they are so excited to have somebody medical. They can just ask any kind of question too. And then you can softly introduce the ideal of research, and not feel so transactional. So, really thinking about how you can partner with different organizations in your community that's that already have a foot in the door with the community. That for example, we partnered with the sickle cell, the My Three Sickler Sickle Cell Foundation community, because they have a soft intro. They're a passionate organization that works directly with sickle cell warriors to put them through college and provide housing and food and transportation. But the piece that they need is additional medications in the community, which is the resource they could not bring. So they reached out to my organization to partner to see if we could get pharma to start thinking about new medications. And what do? We have 2 studies that we're able to bring over to the sickle cell community through 2 big pharma companies. So just thinking about the power of collaboration. Don't feel like you have to do it all yourself as a research site. Let everybody work for what they were created to work for, and then you find a way to you find those synergies to work together. So I think that's the largest takeaway.
That's perfect. Well, I just want to say thank you all for taking the time to join me. It's been really exciting to see the work that you and all of your sites have done throughout the first half of this program. I'm really excited to see where we end up in December and what you guys are able to accomplish between now and then. But again, thank you so much for joining. This has been really great. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of ACRO's Good Clinical Podcast. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit more about the sites involved in the grant program. Join us back here next week for the season finale of Season 3.